Hello, it's Jalopy, and today I brought you to St Anne's police station. I'm making sure I don't get run over. This is where a lot of people were arrested and brought to after the protests a couple of weeks ago. So I thought I'd come down and have a look. Now, the reason I'm doing these audits is because I like photography. I like to go out and take pictures, and I should be able to take pictures of whatever I like. But I've been stopped a few times, and I've seen videos where people have been arrested, searched, and had their rights violated by police. I hope you can hear me. And it's about time we stood up for ourselves and put a stop to it. General inquiries. Please use rear entrance. If I can get round to the other side. There's a bloody big wall there. There's one story in particular that really angered me. This guy came to Liverpool, travelled for hours to get here as a journalist to record the protests, and he'd only been in the city a few minutes, got off at Lime Street, didn't get very far before he was stopped by the police and asked what he was doing. He was with a couple of other journalists, and he said he was here to record the protests, and they asked for proof of ID, proof that he was a journalist, and he said he didn't need it. But they kept insisting that unless he had journalist ID, then he would have to leave. Now, the guy who's with confirmed that he was working with him, and they started saying because of the coronavirus regulations he had to leave. He agreed to leave. He started walking away, and literally within 30 seconds they followed him and stopped him and said they wanted to issue him a dispersal notice. Now, there was a dispersal order in place, but you can only be dispersed if you committed a crime, public order offence, which he hadn't, and they knew he hadn't, but it was the only way they could get him to leave the city and not just turn around and come back and record the protests. So, let's see if I can get this in here. So, he refused to give his details, saying that he was there working. They didn't believe him. Then they started saying that he had to give his details because he was suspected of committing a public order offence. Now, the public order offence that they were on about was antisocial behaviour, which was just laughable. And for antisocial behaviour you have to use threatening words of behaviour, just be an arsehole basically. He'd done none of that. Still wouldn't give his details because he didn't have to. We then threatened him with arrest. We wanted to give him a COVID fine and a dispersal notice, and because he refused, they actually said, if you don't give us your details, you will be arrested. He hardly had time to speak. In fact, 6 seconds later, they arrested him. So from threat of arrest to actual arrest was 6 seconds. Absolutely appalling behaviour. Now, I've got some notes in my pocket that show what antisocial behaviour is, and dispersal notices, when you can be dispersed from an area. But I'm pretty freezing. I am pretty freezing. I'm going to sit over here. Alright, so let's have a look. Section 50 of the Police Reform Act 2002 is an antisocial behaviour power. If you are reasonably believed to be committing antisocial behaviour, you can be required to give your name and address to a cop in uniform. Antisocial behaviour is defined as behaviour likely to cause harassment, alarm or distress, which is the same as the offence under Section 5 Public Order. This power is often cited by the police on demonstrations officers are steaming up. Because it is likely that wide-scale use of the Section 50 of the Police Reform Act by the police when dealing with peaceful protesters would be found to be unlawful. And the maximum penalty for antisocial behaviour is a fine, not arrest. Now, harassment. The offence in England is using threatening or abusive insulting words within hearing or sight of a person likely to be harassed, thereby conduct which may require a person to be given legal protection in terms of Protection from Harassment Act. For these purposes, harassment is not defined but includes causing the person alarm or distress. For the courts to act under this legislation, the harassment was caused by a course of conduct. Now, a course of conduct is not just one action, it's a course, more than one. This is defined in the Act as a conduct on more than one occasion. It need not be the same conduct on each occasion. So there you go. I think they've all got a day off today because no one's about. No one. Right. Dispersal power will enable officers to direct a person who is committed or likely to commit antisocial behaviour commit antisocial behaviour to leave a specified area and not to return for a specified period of up to 48 hours. The test would be that the officer is satisfied on reasonable grounds that the person's behaviour is contributing or likely to contribute to antisocial behaviour or crime or disorder in the area. And that the direction is necessary to prevent the same. Police officers would have access to all elements of power, and PCSOs only some. The direction would in most instances be given in writing to ensure that those individuals being dispersed are clear where they are being dispersed from. Well, that didn't happen. They were just told to go home. The officer must specify the area from which the person is excluded and may specify when and by which route they must leave the area. And it also says, and now they said that the dispersal order only went public at 11 o'clock in the morning. It also says here that as a safeguard to ensure that the power is used proportionately and to protect civil liberties I should say, guidance will suggest that data on its use should be published locally. This would be via a website or other locally agreed media. So there you go. have a look inside. Wear a mask. In case you didn't see that big sign, wear a mask. Please wear a mask, please wear a mask, please wear a mask, please wear a mask. Please note, masks must be worn before you enter here.
What did you say? Because I'll give me a time to come back. Number of some woman saying that she was going to be here in an hour. And how long ago was that? Over an hour ago. What was it? And I stopped.
Where's everyone? You all gone home?
Yeah, they've all gone home.
Don't forget, wear a mask.
Okay, you're still sitting here when I come back. I know. See you in a bit.
So, there you go, St Anne's police station. This is now the third police station where I've not been approached. And I think it's because I'm a woman. So next time, I'm going to dress like a man. Stay here a little bit. That is one nasty looking police station. So what I'd like to do with these audits is tell people's personal stories. Because if you've been to, say, you're a victim of crime, and you've gone to the police and reported it, and you really hope that the person who committed the crime gets brought to justice, then you get an email saying no further action, it's not in the public interest. No matter what the crime is, it's wrong. It shouldn't be up to individual police officers or whatever if they don't investigate properly, which has happened in cases with mine. They've not been investigated properly, and it's always been no further action, even when I presented them with further evidence. and it has an effect on people's mental health. You're a victim of crime, and you know, you want justice. You don't want it to happen to anybody else, but it does, and they do nothing about it. So what I'd like to do is tell people stories while I'm doing these audits. A bit better than today, like, because I'm pretty new at this. So at least you can get your stories out there. If the police won't listen, then other people will. And just telling your story to somebody, getting it out there, could be a huge relief and help you heal from the ordeal. Because the police aren't interested. They really aren't. They really don't give a shit. But I do, and if you want to tell your story, let me know. The email's in the about box. Tell me your story. I'll go to the police station and tell the story of what injustice you've suffered at the hands of the police. If they've not investigated properly, thoroughly, or they have, and then it's just been no further action, or if you've been a victim of false arrest, accusations that aren't true, and you've been criminalised, let me know. So right, I'm going to leave it there because I'm cold, and I will get better at this, I promise. It's pretty nerve-wracking, I must say. It is pretty nerve-wracking to come here to the main station in Liverpool. But I'll go to the headquarters next, dressed as a man, and see if there's any difference, because this is now the third or fourth. I've not been approached. I've not put the videos up because they're pretty boring, really. So, not very interesting to watch, which I mean it is good. I will make a video, short clips of the stations I've been to and not been approached, but it's just boring. Here you go. Right, off to headquarters. See you later.